Hey everyone, getting ready for those big government exams, RBI, SEBI, NABARD, UPSC. Well, today's deep dive is going to be right up your alley. We're pulling straight from the Hindu's Daily Explainer and diving deep into Cyclone Fengal. This is the kind of stuff that could definitely pop up on those exams. And hey, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss out on more deep dives like this. All right, let's get into it. Today we're talking about cyclones, specifically Fengal, and how these powerful storms form before making landfall.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating process, especially when you think about the impact these natural events can have, like environmentally, economically, really significant.
Absolutely. So how does something like Fengal go from just a little disturbance in the ocean to this massive swirling storm? What's the recipe for a cyclone?
Well, you can think of the Bay of Bengal like a giant solar collector, especially during these warmer months. The shallow basin traps heat, and as that water warms up, it starts to evaporate, and that evaporation is what fuels the cyclone.
Okay, so we got the heat,
Yeah.
the moisture, clouds forming, but where does the spin come in?
Right, so that's where the Earth's rotation comes in. It creates what's called the Coriolis effect, and that's what causes the rising air to twist, which then forms that classic spiral pattern we see in cyclones.
The Coriolis effect. I remember studying that for geography exams.
Mm.
So we've got this spinning storm gathering energy over the ocean. What's happening inside? What does the anatomy of a cyclone like Fengal look like?
Okay, so at the center of the storm, you have the eye. It's surprisingly calm. The air is actually descending there. But surrounding the eye is where things get really intense. That's the eye wall. It's a ring of powerful thunderstorms with the highest wind speeds, torrential rainfall, and the potential for those devastating storm surges.
So the eye is almost deceptive, like a calm before the storm.
Okay.
But and I came across another term when I was reading up on this, central dense overcast. What is that? And why should exam takers care about it?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. So the central dense overcast is basically a really thick layer of clouds, and it can actually obscure the eye from satellites, which makes it difficult to accurately forecast the cyclone's intensity and track.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it can be a real challenge, especially for disaster management agencies, trying to prepare coastal communities for landfall.
Why trying to get people to safety? Makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've seen Fengal take shape. We've kind of peeked inside this swirling giant. But the big question is, what happens when it hits land? What does landfall actually mean when we're talking about a cyclone?
Landfall is the exact moment the center of the cyclone's eye crosses the coastline. And it's a crucial turning point, because that's when the storm starts to lose its primary fuel source, the warm ocean water.
So it's like the cyclone's running out of steam.
Yeah, exactly. But it's important to remember, even though a cyclone weakens after landfall, it can still pack a serious punch. The Hindu article actually highlights how Fengal, even after it crossed the coast, continued to bring heavy rainfall and strong winds inland, causing a lot of damage.
Yeah, and that's something for our listeners to keep in mind, especially those who are prepping for those government exams. The impact of a cyclone isn't just limited to those immediate coastal areas. So the cyclone weakens over land, but it doesn't just vanish.
Right. There are a few things that can happen. It might completely dissipate over land, just lose all its energy.
Okay.
Or if it moves quickly enough and encounters another body of water, it can actually regain strength. Remember Cyclone Gulab?
Oh, yeah.
That one crossed over and intensified into Shaheen over the Arabian Sea.
Like a cyclone with 9 lives.
Yeah.
But there was another interesting thing you mentioned earlier, the eye wall replacement cycle. What exactly is that?
So that's when a new eye wall forms, further out from the center, and it slowly contracts inward, eventually replacing the original eye wall.
Wow.
And this actually weakens the cyclone at first, but it can lead to re-intensification later, which can make it even more dangerous.
So it's like the cyclone is restructuring itself for second act. Fascinating. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from how cyclones like Fengal form, to their anatomy, and that crucial moment of landfall. But here's a thought for all you future policymakers and regulators out there. With climate change potentially warming up our oceans, could we see more intense cyclones in the future? And if so, what will that mean for coastal communities? What will it mean for the people responsible for managing these risks? That's something to ponder as you continue your exam prep. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives like this. We'll see you next time.